The shotgun blast echoed through the hollow of the old maple tree like God's own thunder, splintering bark and sending Delaney sprawling into the mud, her heart pounding wilder than the storm clouds rolling over the Adirondacks. "You're a goddamn abomination, girl. Straight from the devil's playbook." Grandpa's voice cracked like dry lightning from the porch, the diary clutched in his gnarled fist, pages fluttering like the wings of some trapped bird. Blood trickled from a shallow gash on her temple where the ricochet had kissed her skin. But it was his words that carved deepest, ripping open the secret she buried deeper than her grandma's bones in that frostbitten soil. Delaney had always known the farm was a graveyard of unspoken sins, acres of corn whispering judgments, the creek running black with silt and regret. 28. She'd come back to Willow Creek after a decade in Brooklyn's neon haze, chasing ghosts and a paycheck that barely covered the rent on her shoebox apartment. The city had been her salvation. A sprawl of graffiti-scrawled stoops and dive bars where she could kiss Riley under the glow of bodega signs without the world batting an eye. But home? Home was a noose disguised as nostalgia, tightening with every mile she'd driven up 87. The Hudson Valley blurring into the stern peaks of her childhood. It started innocently enough, or as innocent as family reunions get when everyone's nursing grudge is older than the barn. Aunt Clara's potluck had drawn them all out like flies to honey, ham casseroles sweating under tinfoil, Jell-O salads quivering with suspicious fruit chunks, and Uncle Ray's moonshine burning holes in your throat. Delaney had slipped away early, claiming a headache from the diesel fumes of Ray's truck. But really, it was the way her cousins eyed her. All grown up and fancy with her city haircut and that silver ring on her thumb that didn't quite scream engagement. She'd retreated to the attic, that dusty area above the garage where she'd hidden as a kid, dreaming of escape while the wind howled hymns through the eaves. The diary was her anchor, a battered moleskine she'd carried since college, its spine cracked like an old man's back. In it, she'd poured everything. The electric thrill of Riley's laugh in a crowded comedy club on Avenue B. The way her fingers traced constellations on Delaney's collarbone under threadbare sheets. The ache of loving someone in a world that still sharpened its knives for girls like them. But there were shadows too, the fights with her ma over wasted potential. The barbs from folks back home who whispered about that phase like it was a bad perm. And lately, the creeping fear that Riley's wandering eyes at gallery openings meant there forever was fraying at the edges. She hadn't meant for Grandpa to find it. Hell, she'd thought the attic was her fortress, key tucked under the loose floorboard like a pirate's map. But Elias Hawthorne, 82 years etched into his frame like rings on an oak, with a mustache that drooped like Spanish moss and eyes sharp as the scythe in the shed, had his ways. He was the patriarch, the keeper of ledgers and legacies, the man who'd buried 2 wives and a son without shedding a tear that anyone saw. Folks said he built the farm with his bare hands after the war. But Delaney knew better. He'd built walls too, high and unyielding, to keep the world and its sins at bay. That afternoon, she'd come up for air after Clara's endless questions about boyfriends, the diary spilling from her bag like an accusation. She dozed off amid the moth-eaten quilts, waking to the creak of stairs that wasn't the house settling. There he was, silhouetted in the hatchway, the book already open in his lap like a Bible at Judgment Day. "Delaney Grace," he'd growled, voice gravel from a lifetime of unlit camels. "What in the Lord's name is this filth?" She'd snatched for it, but he held firm, his farmer's grip unyielding as he flipped pages, his face draining to the color of buttermilk. Riley's name danced under his gaze. Riley's lips taste like salt in summer storms, her hands mapping me like I'm worth the discovery, and then the raw confessions. I hate how they look at us, like we're broken toys. But God, when she holds me, I'm whole. His lip curled. That familiar disdain she'd seen leveled at hippies and queers in town hall meetings. Sinful, he spat, slamming it shut. You've shamed us all. Girl. Shamed your grandma's memory. Your daddy's grave. The words landed like fists, each one bruising deeper than the last. Delaney bolted down the stairs, past the kitchen where Ma was humming over pie crusts, oblivious, and out into the yard where the air hung heavy with impending rain. She didn't see the shotgun until it was too late. Grandpa's old Remington, propped by the door like a sentinel, a prop from his hunting days. In her blind fury, she grabbed it, pumped a warning shot into the sky, the recoil slamming her shoulder like a lover's betrayal. That's when the rail storm broke, thunderclapping, rain sheeting down in silver rods, and Grandpa charging out, diary in one hand, Bible in the other, roaring scriptures about Sodom and fire. You think this changes blood? He bellowed, veins bulging like roots under his neck. Your hawthorn stalk straight and true. Or damned, Delaney laughed, a bitter bark that tasted like blood, wiping mud from her face. Straight? Like you? Grandpa? The man who preaches purity, while the bottle empties in the barn. It was a low blow, dredging up the whiskey he'd sworn off after Daddy's wreck. But desperation makes poets of us all. He advanced, rain plastering his shirt to his chest, revealing the faded tattoo of a rose she'd never noticed, a sailor's mark from 45. Thorns and all. Get off my land, sinner. Before I forget your kin. She dropped the gun, the metal clanging like a dropped vow, and ran for her truck, tires spinning gravel as she fled into the dusk. The diary stayed behind, a hostage in his war. Brooklyn welcomed her back with its indifferent hum, sirens wailing like distant lovers, the L train rattling overhead like a pulse. Riley was waiting in their walk-up, all golden retriever energy despite the late hour, her dark curls tied in a messy bun, paint-splattered overalls from her shift at the Mural Collective. At 26, Riley was a force, olive skin glowing under Edison bulbs, hazel eyes that crinkled with mischief, a tattoo of Audre Lorde's quote snaking up her forearm, "Your silence will not protect you." Babe? You look like you wrestled a bear and lost. Delaney collapsed onto the futon, the scent of Riley's lavender soap a balm against the farm's manure tang. Worse. Grandpa found the diary. The words tumbled out in a rush, the confrontation, the shotgun, the slur that still echoed in her skull. Riley pulled her close, fingers combing through wet auburn strands, but there was a hesitation. A flicker in those eyes that Delaney had learned to dread. He'll come around, Riley murmured. But her voice was thin, stretched like the canvas she stretched for her oils. Family does. Eventually. But Delaney knew better. Elias Hawthorne didn't bend, he broke things instead. That night, sleep evaded her. Dreams tangled with diary pages burning. Riley's face morphing into Grandma's faded portrait's stern lips. Unyielding gaze. By dawn, her phone buzzed. Ma's number. Voice trembling over the line. Your grandpa. He's gone quiet. Laney. Locked himself in the study with that book of yours. Come back. Please. The drive north was a blur of taillights and regret. The radio crooning Springsteen about highways and ghosts. Willow Creek greeted her with deceptive calm, the creek murmuring apologies under the covered bridge. Ma met her at the door, flower-dusted apron like a flag of surrender, eyes red-rimmed. He won't eat. Won't speak. Just reads. Sure. The study door was ajar. A sliver of lamplight spilling like contraband. Delaney knocked. Soft as a confession. Grandpa? It's me. Silence. Then a rasp. Come in, child. And closed the door on the devil outside. He sat hunched at the oak desk. Diary splayed open. A tumbler of amber liquid sweating rings on the blotter. His mustache twitched. But his eyes, those blue icebergs, were fractured. Thought at the edges. I called you sinful, he started. Voice like crumpling paper. Thought I was saving your soul. But this. He tapped the page. Finger trembling on a passage about Riley's laugh echoing in a rain-soaked Central Park. This ain't sin. It's life. Raw as a gutted fish. Delaney perched on the windowsill. Arms crossed against the chill seeping through cracked panes. Then why the shotgun sermon? Why chase me off like I'm rabid? He sighed. A bellows of defeat. And for the first time, she saw the boy he'd been, wide-eyed recruit shipping out from Schenectady. Letters home full of bravado. Because I know sin. Girl. Wore it like a hair shirt. He slid the diary toward her. Open to the final page. The one she'd scrawled in a fever after Riley's last fight. Words bleeding ink. If love's a lie, then let me burn in it. But Grandpa, if you read this, know I forgive you your walls. We all hide to survive. He'd underlined it. Pencil strokes shaky. You wrote that for me? Knowing I'd pry. She nodded. Throat tight. Hoped you wouldn't. But if you did, maybe it'd crack something. Elias leaned back. Chair groaning like an old sinner's confession. It did more in crack. Shattered me. His gaze drifted to the wall, where a sepia photo hung crooked. Him at 20. Arms slung around a soldier named Tommy. Both grinning in fatigues. Pacific sun gilding their youth. Tommy O'Brien. Irish kid from Boston. Freckles like yours. Laugh that could chase storms. We shipped out together. Shared foxholes and fears. One night, under stars brighter in judgment, he kissed me. Said it was the only truth in hell. Delaney's breath caught. The room tilting. You? He nodded. Slow as dawn. Loved him fierce. Buried it deeper in your daddy when the shrapnel took him on Iwo. Came home. Married your grandma, good woman. God rest her, but Tommy's ghost rode shotgun every mile. Called it sinful. Same as I called you. Built this farm to forget. But forgetting's just another lie. The revelation hung between them. Heavy as harvest moon. Betrayal stung not his, but the decades of sermons he'd preached to shield his own heart. The hypocrisy that had scarred her before she even knew her truth. Why hide it? She whispered. From us? From Ma. Fear. Laney. The world's got teeth for men like me. Women like you. I thought walls kept kin safe. But they just starved the soul. He reached across. Hand engulfing hers. Calluses rough as truth. That last page. You forgave before I earned it. Now I ask the same. Tears pricked. Hot and unbidden. Outside. Rain pattered a tentative rhythm. Washing the slate. It's not forgiveness you need, Grandpa. It's living. She squeezed back. The hawthorn grip passing like a torch. Tell me about Tommy. All of it. And so he did. Words uncoiling like smoke from a long-doused fire. Tales of stolen glances and chow lines. Letters coded in baseball scores. The ache of goodbye that echoed her own with Riley. Hours slipped by. The tumbler untouched. The diary a bridge instead of a battlefield. By midnight, Ma knocked with coffee, her face softening at the sight. Grandfather and granddaughter, heads bent together, mending nets. But peace is fragile as first frost. Dawn brought Riley's text, "Miss you. Gallery shows tonight. Come home." A reminder of the chasm between farm and freedom. Delaney lingered, helping with chores. The air thick with new ease. Grandpa's jokes laced with gentleness. No more side-eyes at her ring. Yet under it, the betrayal lingered like silt in the creek. His lie had poisoned her homecoming. Nearly cost her everything. The climax crashed on the third day. During the county fair's harvest dance. Willow Creek's finest turned out in plaid and pearls. Fiddles whining under strung bulbs. The air sweet with funnel cake and regret. Grandpa insisted she come. Arm linked in hers like allies storming a beachhead. "Show 'em Hawthorne pride," he muttered. But his eyes scanned for judgment. Riley had driven up unannounced. A surprise wrapped in vintage denim and wild curls. Her city swagger turning heads like a fox in the henhouse. "Thought I'd crash the cornbread circuit," she grinned, pulling Delaney into a kiss that tasted of rebellion and Red Bull. Whispers rippled, "That her friend." But Grandpa stepped up, mustache quirking. "This here's Riley. Artist. Keeps my girl honest." The words landed like buckshot, scattering doubters. They danced under the harvest moon. Riley's hips swaying to bluegrass remakes of Patsy Cline. Delaney's laughter bubbling free for the first time in years. But conflict brewed in the shadows. Uncle Ray, red-faced from ale, cornered Grandpa by the hay bales. Heard tales. "Elias, your granddaughter's unnatural. And you? Defending it? After all you preached." Elias's jaw set. That old steel glinting. "Preached from fear." "Right. My own mostly." The confession spilled then. Raw as a gut wound, Tommy's name. The kiss. The grave. Ray recoiled. Beer sloshing. But something shifted, not acceptance, but a crack in the armor. A humanizing glimpse of the man behind the myth. Betrayal struck swift as a scythe. As the night waned, Delaney overheard Ray on his cell. Voice slurred to kin in Albany. "Elias's lost it, spouting fairy tales about some war buddy. And the girls. Well, you know." The words sliced, exposing the family fault lines. Grandpa's secret had widened. By morning, calls flooded. Aunts decrying scandal, cousins ghosting group chats. The farm's ledger suddenly short on IOUs. Delaney packed her bag. Heart leaden. Riley's hand steady on her shoulder. "We leave." But Grandpa blocked the door. Diary in hand like a shield. "No. This lion's here. With me." He fired off emails. Voicemails blunt as buckshot. "I loved a man once. Still do. In dreams. My granddaughter loves a woman. That's truth. Not shame. Cut us off. You're cutting kin." The fallout was biblical. Half the family circled wagons in silence. The other half trickled back with pies and apologies. Ray's among them. Mumbled over coffee. "Didn't know. Elias. Sorry. It wasn't absolution. But it was human flawed. Fumbling toward light." In the quiet aftermath, Delaney and Riley stayed a week, painting the barn doors electric blue. a defiant splash against the sepia landscape. Grandpa watched from the porch. Tommy's photo now on the mantel. Dust-free. One evening, as fireflies scripted the dusk, he pulled Delaney aside. That last page saved us both. Wrote my own now for you. For Riley. Read it someday. She hugged him fierce. The scent of earth and aftershave mingling with promise. We will. But live it first. They drove south at week's end. Windows down. Springsteen's thunder road blasting. Riley's head on her shoulder. The farm shrank in the rear view. Not a prison but a port scarred. But sailing. Betrayal had cracked the foundation. But love? That stubborn weed. Pushed through. In the diary's final, unwritten lines, Delaney imagined their future. Tangled sheets in Brooklyn lofts. Adoptions and arguments. Grandpa's visits with jars of creek water and stories of ghosts finally laid to rest. Humanity isn't in perfection, she thought, thumb tracing Riley's ring finger. It's in the lies we outgrow. The sins we forgive. And in the drive to keep going. Rain or shine. Shotgun be damned. The city lights blurred into a kaleidoscope of regret as Delaney gripped the wheel tighter. The throughways hum a monotonous dirge to the life she'd half reclaimed. Riley dozed beside her. Curls spilling over the console like spilled secrets. Her soft snores a counterpoint to the storm still raging in Delaney's chest. Grandpa's confession had been a thunderclap. Yet. But the echoes? They rattled like loose change in a beggar's cup. Family fractures widening into chasms. Whispers turning to outright condemnations in group texts that pinged like accusations. Back in Brooklyn, the apartment felt smaller. Walls closing in with the weight of unpacked emotions. Riley threw herself into canvases. Slashes of crimson and indigo mirroring the bruise on Delaney's soul. While Delaney stared at her laptop. Cursor blinking over a blank email to Ma. We made it. Tell Grandpa we're okay. Love you. But the words stuck. Thorny as brambles. Weeks bled into autumn. Leaves carpeting the sidewalks in fiery protest. Delaney's job at the nonprofit coordinating queer youth programs in the Bronx ground on a daily gauntlet of stories that echoed her own. Kids cast out. Dreams deferred. It kept her anchored. But nights were battlegrounds. Riley's laughter came rarer. Her touches tentative. Like testing thin ice. You're a million miles away. Del, she'd say. Hazel eyes searching. That farm's got hooks in you. And it did. Elias's letters arrived weekly now. Scrawled on ledger paper in his blocky hand. Updates on the corn yield. A recipe for venison stew clipped from the Gazette. Sketches of the barn's new blue doors that looked more like abstract art than architecture. Tucked in one envelope. A photo, him at the fair. Arm around Riley. Both grinning like co-conspirators. On the back, Tommy'd have liked her fire. Don't be a stranger. Delaney pinned it to the fridge. A talisman against the drift. But betrayal's shadow lingered. Ray's leak had cost Grandpa 2 longtime clients. Old-timers who'd farmed with him since Korea. Now muttering about unnatural turns. Ma called teary. Bridging the miles. He's holding. Laney. But it's lonely here without your light. The conflict simmered. Then boiled over on a crisp November eve. The kind where the air bites with promise of snow. Delaney's program hosted a panel at the Stonewall Inn, survivors sharing scars under the bar's rainbow glow. She moderated. Voice steady as she introduced speakers. A trans elder who'd marched in '69. A non-binary teen fresh from foster care. Riley sat front row. sketching furiously, her presence a quiet roar. After over cheap Merlot at a nearby haunt, the high faded. Riley set her glass down, rings clinking like warning bells. I heard you on the phone last night. To him, Delaney froze, fork midway to her mouth, pasta cooling like her resolve. Grandpa? Yeah. He's asking about Thanksgiving. Wants us there. Riley's jaw tightened. That stubborn line Delaney loved and loathed. Us. As in, the Sinful parade. The word landed like a slap, borrowed from Elias's arsenal. Dell. That place. It's a minefield. Your family's barely thawed. And now we're the exhibit. It's not, Delaney started. But Riley cut in, voice fracturing. It is. I see it in your eyes. The pull. Willow Creek's got you romanticizing the pain, like it's some Hallmark redemption arc. But I'm not the side character here. I'm your partner. Not the punchline. The argument escalated in the cab ride home. Words flying like shrapnel. Riley accusing Delaney of divided loyalties. Delaney firing back about Riley's flirty text to that curator chick at the gallery. Just networking. Riley had snapped. By the door. It peaked. Riley hurling the diary, retrieved from the farm in a care package, against the wall. Pages splaying like wounded birds. You forgave him his lie. But what about mine? The one where I pretend this is enough when you're half gone. Delaney snatched it up. Heart hammering. Your lie? What's that supposed to? I'm scared. Okay. Riley's voice broke. Tears carving tracks through her mascara. Scared you'll choose them, the farm. The blood over us. Over me. She collapsed onto the futon, curls curtaining her face. And maybe I get it. Family's gravity. But God. Del. It hurts. The room spun. Betrayal inverting. Not Grandpa's now. But the unspoken fractures in their love. The ways they both tiptoed around truths to keep the peace. Delaney knelt. Diary open to that final page. Her own forgiveness staring back like a mirror. Then let's stop lying. To them. To us. She traced Riley's tattoo. Audrey's words a lifeline. Thanksgiving. We go. Together. And we fight for it. All of it. Riley looked up. Eyes stormy but softening. Yeah? And if it blows up, then we rebuild. Like he did. Like we do. The drive to Willow Creek for the holiday was a tentative truce. The truck loaded with Riley's pecan pie and Delaney's resolve. Snow dusted the peaks like confectioner's sugar. The radio crooning Indigo Girls closer to fine as if scripted. Ma greeted them with hugs fierce as bear traps. Her kitchen a whirlwind of yams and yeast rolls. Grandpa waited on the porch, bundled in wool. A fresh pipe clenched unlit between teeth. Girls, he rumbled, pulling them both into an embrace that smelled of pipe tobacco and pine. Storms brewing. Best get inside. Dinner was a tightrope. Uncle Ray present but subdued. Passing potatoes without a word. Aunt Clara's prayers longer. Laced with veiled pleas for guidance. Conversation danced around the elephant harvest yields. The mayor's scandal until coffee. When Elias cleared his throat like a man facing a firing squad. Got something to say. He produced a notebook. Not the diary but a new one. Bound in leather the color of regret. Wrote it for you all. My truth. The room stilled. Forks hovering. He read haltingly, Tales of Tommy. Not sanitized but vivid. Their first dance in a Manila USO hall to Glenn Miller. The letters burned after VJ Day. The marriage to grandma as armor against whispers. I called it sin to save face. Hurt my boy your daddy by pushing him straight when he bent natural. Hurt Laney. Same poison. His voice cracked on Delaney's name. Eyes locking with hers. But love ain't the devil's work. It's the spark. And Riley. He turned to her. Mustache twitching approval. You light my girl's fire. That's holy. Tears flowed free then. Ma's first. A dam breaking. Ray shifted. Mumbling. Didn't know the weight you carried. Elias. Claire nodded. Tentative. We're family. Messy as mud pies. But climax loomed in the aftermath. As shadows lengthened. That night. After pie and promises. Delaney found Ray in the barn. Nursing a flask by the blue doors. Came to apologize proper. He slurred. Eyes glassy. But also. Warn ya. Folks talk. That letter you sent? Leaked further. Paper might run a piece. Hawthorne airs queer confession or some trash. Betrayal's blade twisted anew. Not Ray's malice. But the world's insatiable hunger for scandal. Turning private pain public. Delaney's phone buzzed. A reporter from the Albany Times-Union. Voicemail probing family drama. Panic surged. Visions of headlines torching the fragile peace. She stormed to Grandpa's room. Diary and notebook in hand. It's out. All of it. Elias sat by the window. Snowflakes waltzing beyond the glass. Knew it might. Ray's got a big mouth. Small heart. He patted the bed. Sit. Let's face it. Together. They drafted a response, not denial. But defiance. A joint op-ed. Elias's words bolstered by Delaney's fire. We've hidden too long. My granddaughter loves boldly. I did once too. Let this be our unburdening. Riley contributed sketches, portraits of Tommy from Elias's stories, imagined in vibrant life, turning confession to art. The piece dropped Monday. A splash in the local rag. Rippling national, NPR segments on generational queer reckonings, TikToks of Riley's drawings going viral. Backlash bit, hate mail scrawled with slurs. Church pickets at the farm gate, but so did support. Cards from strangers. A check from a Boston Foundation for Queer Vets. Even a call from a cousin long estranged. Voice thick. Proud of you. Uncle. Through it. Riley and Delaney wove tighter. Nights tangled in sheets. Whispers planning futures, maybe a cabin upstate. Art co-op meets farm stand. Elias visited in spring. Pipe in pocket. Tommy's photo in tow. Teaching Riley to bait hooks while Delaney watched. Heartful. Yet the emotional undercurrent ran deep. Forgiveness wasn't linear. A river with eddies of doubt. One June evening. Post-fair floats and firework fades. Grandpa handed Delaney the diary's final page. Annotated in his hand, "You forgave my lie. Now forgive yourself for carrying it." Humanism bloomed in the small graces. Ray's awkward help with fences. Ma's rainbow apron for flair. The creek song unchanged. Love, Delaney learned, isn't absence of storm but dancing in it, rain-soaked, defiant, alive. Summer unfurled over Willow Creek like a well-worn quilt. Patches of wildflower stitching the fields. The air humming with cicadas' lazy hymns. Delaney and Riley had carved out a rhythm between worlds. Weekends at the farm. Weekdays in the city's electric embrace. Their love a bridge spanning the miles. But bridges creak under weight, and the load grew heavier with each revelation's ripple. The op-ed had been a catalyst, igniting dialogues Delaney never dreamed, school visits where she shared diary excerpts, anonymized for the kids' sake. Their eyes wide with recognition, Riley's solo show in Chelsea. Unwritten pages, featuring Elias's stories rendered in oils, Tommy's grin fierce against canvas storms, selling out to collectors who wept at the unveilings. Grandpa became an unlikely icon. Interviews with PBS where his gravel voice cracked on Love's No Sin. Just human, mustache bobbing like a sage's nod. Yet conflict festered in the quieter corners. Ray's redemption was fitful, helpful with hay bales one day, sullen silences the next. His flask a constant shadow. Ain't easy. Unlearning. He'd grunt when pressed. But the barb slipped. A joke about city fruits at the diner. Eyes sliding away from Riley's hand and Delaney's. Ma mediated. Her kitchen a neutral zone of lemon bars and lectures. But the strain showed in her thinning frame. Worry lines etching deeper. Delaney felt it most in stolen moments with Elias. Porch swings creaking under their weight. You ever regret spilling? She'd ask, passing him a beer from the cooler. He'd swig. Gaze on the horizon where mountains met sky. Regret silence more. Tommy'd say the same, but his hands trembled now. Parkinson's whisper creeping in, turning plowing to a Herculean task. Farm's yours someday, girl. If you want it. The offer landed like a live wire, tempting, terrifying. Brooklyn pulsed with possibility. Promotions at the nonprofit. Riley's buzz building toward a Guggenheim nod. But Willow Creek tugged. Its soil rich with roots she'd once fled. With Riley, Delaney probed. Elias chuckled. Dry as corn husks. World's big enough for both. Love finds room. Betrayal's ghost stirred in autumn's chill. When a letter arrived, anonymous. Postmarked Albany. Envelope thick as accusation. Delaney slid it open over coffee. Riley peering over her shoulder. Inside. Photocopies of diary pages. Circled passages twisted with vitriol sick. Perverted. Hawthorne blood run foul. A note. Knew your kind in the war. Weak. Your grandpa's the real liar. Covering for filth. The words clawed. Dredging old wounds. Riley cursed. Crumpling it. Some coward's last gasp. Burn it. But Delaney couldn't. It echoed Elias's own self-flagellation. The internalized venom that had poisoned generations. She drove north alone that weekend. Letter burning a hole in her glove box. Arriving at the farm as dusk bled purple. Grandpa was in the study. Ledger open. But his eyes lit at her knock. Laney. To what do I owe? She handed him the pages. Watching his face crumple, not shock, but weary recognition. Old enemy, he murmured. Sarge Harlan. Served with Tommy and me. Hated us quiet like. Spread rumors after. Thought him dead. The revelation twisted deeper. Harlan. Alive at 90. Festering in a nursing home. His final spite a poisoned arrow. He knew about you too? Delaney pressed. Elias nodded. Slow. Saw the kiss once. Used it to climb ranks. Bury us deeper. Betrayal layered upon betrayal. Not just Harlan's malice, but Elias's silence. The lie that let poison bloom unchecked. Fury flared. Hot as hearth fire. You let him win? All these years. Elias met her gaze. Unflinching. No. but fears a hellhound. Chased me home. Made me the warden of my own jail. He pulled a drawer. Extracting a faded snapshot, 3 soldiers. Arms linked, Elias. Tommy. Harlan's scowl in the rear. Burned most. Kept this to remember. Even wolves run in packs. They burned it that night in the fire pit. Flames devouring the letter and photo alike. Sparks rising like freed confessions. Riley arrived next day. Pie in hand as peace offering. And the 3 circled the embers. Stories spilling. Harlan's cruelties. Tommy's defiance. Riley's own scars from a Bible Belt youth where love was corrected with conversion camps. We're the survivors, Riley said. Lacing fingers with Delaney. That's the real legacy. Climax crested in winter's grip. Snow blanketing the farm like a shroud. Elias's health faltered. A fall in the barn. Hip cracking like old porcelain. Landing him in Saratoga's sterile halls. The family converged. Ma fluttering with magazines. Ray hauling tools for repairs. Cousins tentative via Zoom. Delaney and Riley drove through blizzards. The truck a cocoon against the whiteout. In the hospital room. Beeps a metronome to his shallow breaths. Elias gripped Delaney's hand. Wrote the end, he rasped. Nodding to the nightstand. His notebook. Final entries. Letters to kin. A will deeding the farm jointly to her and Riley, for the love that outlasts lies, and a coda for her eyes only. Tommy said goodbyes, just see you later. Tell Riley she's family. Tell yourself you're enough. Tears blurred the ink, but resolve sharpened. We will, Delaney vowed. Riley's arms steal around her. Ray lingered after. Flask abandoned. He made me better. Hating to. Sorry ain't enough. But it's start. It was human. Halting. The betrayal's antidote in accountability. Elias rallied enough for discharge. Home to the farm where Riley rigged a studio in the attic. Canvases capturing his napping form. Mustache silver against quilts. Spring brought green shoots. Metaphorical and literal. The first crop under Delaney's hand. Riley's fingers soil-stained beside her. The family mended unevenly. Clara's church now hosts pride potlucks. Ray's jokes land gentler, but the core held. Love as verb. Active and aching. Tragedy shadowed the idyll in July. A heat wave wilting the corn. Elias slipped away in sleep. Notebook clutched. A smile ghosting his lips, perhaps dreaming of Tommy's laugh. The funeral was a tapestry. Fiddles at the graveside. Riley's eulogy fierce with borrowed words from the diary. We burn bright. Sins and all. Delaney scattered ashes by the creek. Riley's hand in hers. The water carrying him home. Grief was a tide. Ebbing to revelation. The farm thrived. Not despite the lies, but through their unmaking. Delaney and Riley married in the barn under blue doors. Vows exchanged amid hay bales and fireflies. Kin toasting with moonshine and tears. Ma danced with Ray. Cousins snapped pics for posterity. The world a little less walled. In quiet nights. Delaney adds to the diary, now a shared tome, pages of Riley's sketches. Elias's recipes. Their daughter's first giggle echoing in the attic. The final entry. Unwritten yet. Lies exposed us. Love rebuilt. And in America's vast, bruised heart. That's the truest humanism, forgiving the sinner in us all. To love the light.